Hey, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Ronald.
And this is
the Middle School Ministry Podcast. Hey, we nailed it.
Ooh,
that was great.
First try.
We're so good at this. We're so good, we even remember the days we're supposed to record. And
We totally remembered.
never skip and try to make it up like a day later.
I totally remembered putting it on my calendar.
Yeah, actually. I think I took it off my calendar. Legit. I should probably change that.
So I was like, where did it go? I don't know. They just stopped at a certain date, I guess.
Maybe because when you hit the repeat forever, every week, forever, like it does that.
It just really does it. It just keeps going.
Computers are weird like that. Hey, middle school pastors and those who love middle school students, we're so glad that you're here.
We love you.
If you're around because you just found us on the DYM Podcast Network page, yeah, we're
Hello.
here. We're a thing now.
We're here.
We've been doing our middle school ministry podcast for a little bit, and so it's cool to be a part of the network. This is neat.
And we love middle schoolers, and you love middle schoolers.
And
so better than to talk about middle schoolers.
And we get to talk to our middle schoolers, but sometimes we talk to other people's middle schoolers.
And it's wild.
You did that the other day, did you?
I did. I just recently, to right now last weekend, but who knows when this comes out? I forget.
In 3 years from now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to go hang out with some friends up in Modesto, David Wood's church.
Do you mean the warlock and sorcerer and magician David Wood?
That is the one.
I love David. He's such a down to earth guy. He's so cool.
He is a wonderful pastor. Watching him with the students was really, really fun.
What's neat is we kind of know him as the magician, the guy who does magic tricks.
Absolutely.
But his students, he told me his students are always fine, here comes another magic trick. Did you see that did he do any magic while you were there?
Here's the funny thing. Not once did he do a magic trick.
What?
Up at camp.
No.
I didn't see a single one, which was hilarious to me. And I was not about to go and ask him, David, show me a magic trick. Because I know that he's doing it all the time, right? But he actually has a student who also loves magic.
Oh, that's cool.
And so his student was showing me some of his magic tricks.
Oh, so David didn't show.
Got some magic.
So, but the middle school student, variety of magic.
Yes, where you clearly know where the card is. But you act super surprised.
Right? You're so good.
What?
Way to go.
How did you even do that? No, I don't want to keep the card that came out of your mouth, but that was a great trick.
Oh, I love it. So, tell me about speaking to somebody else's middle school students. What'd you do to prepare? What'd you do while you were there? How was it?
Yeah, so this was really kind of my first bigger speaking experience. I've gone and done a weeknight speaking at a church for their youth group, but this was my first big weekend kind of experience. And honestly, the prepping of it was difficult because I was I know my students,
yeah,
but I have no idea what this group of students is going to be like. Are they going to understand my jokes? Are they super goofy or are they super serious? How do I figure out how to create these talks? And one of the cool things that David's church did is they used a Youthman 360.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it.
Curriculum?
Retreat in a box type thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So luckily, all of the talks were basically kind of created, which was great. And I just had to kind of go through and add in my things, add in some stories, tie it together with a bow that really made it mine. And so that actually really helped as I was prepping for this, being my first one. I was okay, I have kind of a baseline and then I can throw in my style. But it was still really difficult to think about okay, how do I execute this in front of them?
No, that's really cool. Actually, that's super helpful. To think about if you're going to go speak to somebody else's middle school students, even if it is a weeknight, that's huge to have that conversation with the other pastor and be hey, so tell me about your group. Are they funny? Are they super serious? What are they expecting? What do you normally do? Those are all really good questions to ask. That's cool.
Yeah, and I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have, David and I, we talked on the phone briefly, and I wish I would have asked those questions. Yeah. So looking back now, I'm that would have been better if I was like, hey, tell me about your ministry, which I'm like, now I'm like, that should have been my first question.
Yeah. So in the future, then, like, what are some questions that you think you're going to ask? Like, because you're probably going to get asked to do this more than once. Like, what do you think you're going to want to know next time?
Yeah, I think some of the questions that I wish I would have asked was, tell me a little bit about your group. What's kind of the background of your group? How do you normally teach to your group?
Oh yeah.
To know kind of what they're used to. I think as well as
Oh,
just like, what have you seen? Like, what are some of the backgrounds of the students? Like, are they all coming
ooh,
from
that's
like growing up in the church, or are this is their first retreat? Do they know God at all? Like,
mhm.
kind of just a thermometer of where people are at.
No, that's really good. Like, that's definitely something that I think could help you as like the guest speaker, like rock. Because if you know, hey, I'm teaching to mostly private school kids who get Jesus all the time,
Yeah,
that's going to be a different. You're going to have a different mindset than somebody who's like, hey, I've got only public school kids and a lot of them are lost. Like that's two different crowds, right?
100%.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So, like when you were there, like was it cool to interact with like middle school students who weren't your own? Like, how did that go?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. That group specifically, they were really cool. Like they were very, I would say, mature group.
Yeah.
Meeting a lot of them. It was mostly kind of seventh and eighth graders, I think.
Well, you kick the sixth graders out. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more mature.
Right. And so like they all just like got along too, which was really fun.
Oh, fun.
And I told David that and he was like, yeah, you should have seen them last time. I was like,
Oh,
yeah, middle school, right? You never know what they're going to be like.
yep.
But I just loved like talking with them. And I would go and try and sit and have lunch or dinner or breakfast with them. But I also loved connecting with the leaders too. And that's one of the big things was his leaders were really cool. He had somebody who normally only does high school, but came to middle school.
Oh,
And that she's a rock star, like
so like
legit,
came on the
hands
middle school
down.
retreat, even
So
though they're
cool.
normally a high school leader.
Huh?
Like came on the middle school retreat, even though they're normally a high school leader.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because they needed another female. And then their other female was a high schooler who came as a leader. And she's going to like just do amazing things for Jesus.
I feel that.
So it's so fun to see other people like that you normally will never interact with again. But you get to see this little glimpse of the kingdom in other places, right? Where you're like, no,
Yep.
God's still moving outside of your area.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah. So it was fun. And they kind of look at you and think of you like a celebrity, which is kind of cool.
I'm
Like
the
you're like
guest
the
speaker.
speaker.
Yeah, you get to be the guest speaker. Get out to ask all the questions.
Oh, yeah.
Like what? Oh, what were some of the questions the middle school students asked you? That's a good one.
I feel like they
What
didn't
they want?
ask me
What
like,
they want to know? What they want to know about you?
honestly, I don't think they really asked me that many questions. How old I was, naturally.
Right? 19. Yeah, 19.
Yep. Definitely got 18. A lot of them, they were pretty close.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
They're
they
good at it.
actually, I was like, this is decent. They never got the actual number, but they got around it, which
Well,
is
it's close.
great. Yeah. I was like, I appreciate this. But yeah, I think just they didn't really ask me a lot of questions, but when I was leaving, I got to talk to a couple of them and they were just so encouraging to me of like, man, I
Oh,
really needed those.
oh,
Or
that's cool.
like, I learned so much this weekend, or like, you just influenced me a lot this weekend. And I was like, I barely talk to you, but
Wow.
like the little things like that, like they were just such a great group.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. Like I was kind of
Okay,
hoping for more like random questions, but they
maybe I don't know. Like the maybe the filters up a little bit more when you're a stranger. I don't know.
it's possible.
Hmm.
What's it? Because you've done this a little bit. What's one of the weirdest questions you've gotten?
Definitely questions about like because I like to tell lots of stories
Excellent.
when I'm the guest speaker, not necessarily so that like they can get to know me, but just because stories are easy to get application from.
Absolutely.
So like there's a terrible story of my intern one time doing a brush fire and trying to save a baby bunny from the fire, and the bunny jumped into the fire instead of into his hands.
No,
Yeah, and so I get lots of stories, questions about like what happened to the bunny, like exactly what you think happened to the bunny.
I would be crying
Uh,
in that audience.
I don't think I've made people cry with that story.
I like
I
this is
don't
why
know.
I can't watch like TV shows with animals because I just cry.
There's a website called Did the Dog Die? And it's the whole premise of it is you type in the movie or the episode, and it tells you if the animals die or not.
I feel like I would be really sad on that website. Probably not, because I know a lot of them are like, no animals were harmed in the making of this movie. But I
Well,
still
no, like
watch it.
no, it's like in the plot, does the dog get killed?
Oh, I see.
So
No,
not
like
like
it's the
real.
actual animal. Like, because
No. Like
I was like, oh
do
my gosh,
you?
what if it tells me it died?
Yeah, no, not that. It's hey, when I'm watching this episode, should I prepare myself for a doggy death?
Ugh, then I don't watch it.
So, question for you then. You said this was like your first time going to speak for a long time.
Mhm.
What are you going to do different the next time you invite a speaker in?
Ooh, that's a great question. Because I'm actually looking at that right now as we look at like summer camps and things like that.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
it's time.
it's time. It's very much. It's probably past time.
Mhm.
I think I really want to ask them a little bit of like their experience of speaking. Even if they have none, like just tell me that. Like I'm fine with that. Like yeah, come practice with my students. Like they'll love you.
Yeah.
Same. Like David took a chance on me, and I think I really would want to be like, yeah, what's your style of teaching? Like, are you more story? Are you more, exegetical?
Mhm.
What are you more honestly? What are you passionate about as well? Because I
So
think if I can line it up with like something that they're passionate about, that it's going to be that much greater, right?
yeah.
So if we're doing a whole series on like prayer, and they're like, hey, it's not my strongest thing,
Mhm.
but I love talking about spiritual disciplines as a whole.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, okay, like yeah, we can totally tweak things around to kind of what their strengths are.
So do you think you would have a would do you do ever do like a retreat in the box kind of thing? Because I know you guys go to Lake Hume, and you guys like sometimes you're everything's already prepared for you. Like now that you've done it to where somebody just kind of handed you some curriculum, do you think that's how you're going to do it going forward, or had that conversation where you're like, hey, are you writing this stuff? Do you need some help? What goes on there?
Yeah, so this will be the first year we're doing kind of a retreat in a box. Normally, we've
Hmm.
always created our own kind of curriculum,
Yeah.
and we've done it where we're like, hey, here's our theme verses for each day, and then I've let the person go and kind of create their own. So
So this year you're taking more control
this
of
year
it.
we're going to use a DYM program
Yeah.
that has it already created, just because we're so busy right now, and as we're looking forward, we're like, hey, we need something just simple. That's kind of created, that's done, that we can hand to somebody and they can make it their own, but it's already kind of set up. And so I'm
No,
excited for them to do that.
that's great.
Yeah. What do you guys normally do?
Um, the last 2 years, we've handed off a DYM curriculum to a speaker for our retreat, just to say, hey, this already has a small group material mostly done. So
Yeah.
here's the talks that are kind of connected to it. So like we actually are going to our retreat this weekend when we record this, um, and we are going to be doing a we're going to be doing ours on messes and miracles. It's a Cedrino Hadro curriculum. So super
Ooh.
excited about that. And so yeah, definitely handed that off to them. And the speaker, Brett Eddy, said he really
Oh,
appreciated
nice.
that. He's like, "Oh man, I'm so busy. This is huge." And so thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think right, because most of us we're busy, right? We're leading other ministries, and so to add on another kind of curriculum writing, it can be a lot. And so I actually really appreciated the kind of retreat in a box.
Hmm. No, it makes a difference for sure. Well, guys, thanks so much for listening. And Michelle, I'm definitely looking forward to you speaking more because I know that's going to be something you're going to get asked more and more to do. And so, looking forward to you not only getting more practice at it, but doing it with excellence because I know you do. And so, if you got any questions about, like, hey, I'm about to go lead a retreat and speak at middle school students, or you've got a question about middle school students in general, send them our way. We'd love to talk to you about it and potentially answer it on a future show. Thanks for listening. Do all the internet things for us. Share the show, like, subscribe,
Yeah,
do the things.
do the things. Bye.